Katie Page went through a divorce in her early 30s, and the experience left her feeling quite alone in the world. There were many dreams that she had held so dearly that had burned into ashes. The family and career that she dreamed of seemed to be a far-off dream. Next, she would make a life-changing decision that would shape the lives of everyone involved. When you go through the worst times in your life, you often drag your loved ones in, too. Single mom could not help notice similarities between her foster children. Her discovery changed their lives forever. Katie Page was born and raised in Alabama, and in her early 30s, she was confronted with an understandably trying challenge as her marriage was reaching its end. The heart-wrenching milestone left her feeling undeniably lost in her life, as her dreams of a family were no longer a possibility for the near future. Katie was searching for something fulfilling and knew it was time to make a drastic change. Jackie felt she needed to let go of the past and focus on a new chapter in her life, which led her to move to a new area despite everything she knew, being in Alabama. Back in 2015, she decided soul searching would help her find the right path, and she made exceptional changes in her life. She was lucky enough to find an excellent job as an integrated service manager for GE Johnson, which seemed to solve many concerns she had with relocating to Denver in Colorado. With a new home and a great new job, Katie felt as though she had made the best decision to start over. The spacious 4-bedroom home she purchased may have needed some work, although she planned to take on the projects by herself. The house I bought would require extensive work to transform into my vision, and most of which I would have to do myself in order to afford it, Katie explained. She mentioned to a friend that she felt the home was actually meant for so much more. Renovating her new home would require a lot of money, and while many would feel intimidated by such a large project, Katie thought it was the perfect solution to keep herself busy and her mind occupied on bettering her life. However, she knew that she was missing something, and despite her marriage ending recently, Katie knew she would be able to stumble upon new opportunities soon enough. Life has a funny way of bringing new possibilities your way when you least expect it. Despite some understandable hesitation, Katie knew there would be something out there that would give her the new outlook on life she so desperately wanted. This kind of faith is one of the few things that gets one through a dark phase. After already experiencing heartbreaking fertility issues, she had searched for other options and considered both adoption and fostering as appropriate options to finally have the family her heart was after. After recently joining a church in the area, there was a discussion regarding an upcoming seminar for a fostering program. For those who are feeling lonely or despairing, churches are fantastically welcoming opportunities for new shots at family life. You can find the love of your life and be given the opportunity you were so desperate for to start a family. Katie was immediately interested, as she felt this may have been the opportunity she was looking for all along. The church meeting was more than enough to convince Katie that fostering children in need was the right path for her, and even though she felt somewhat nervous, she was entirely enchanted by the idea of starting her own family with children who needed her most. With so many vulnerable and abandoned children out there, she felt like she could care for them properly and with the love and attention that they deserved. Back in 2015 and on Mother's Day, no less, Katie filled out the application that would change her life forever. She did not have any hesitations or second thoughts. This was what God wanted for her. The decision would shape her future, and there would be no turning back. Still, she was quite nervous when she signed her name. Regardless, Katie was anticipating the exciting journey she was about to undertake. Even though Katie was beyond thrilled about her decision, she would still need to consider all the aspects of the massive life-changing choice to foster children in need. She would be a single mom, and she was also new in the area. This meant that Katie would need to find her feet while discovering life as a single mother. Nonetheless, she was adamant that she would follow through with her decision. It wasn't too long after Katie filed her application when she started to receive feedback. The children that would potentially become her foster children were not merely children in need, as they had also experienced heart-wrenching traumas early in their lives. Being no stranger to strife, Katie was sure that she could use the difficultly learned life lessons to guide her babies through their struggles. This fact simply made Katie even more eager to open her heart. 1 year later, Katie was fostering 4 children and found herself longing for one of her own. This is something that many adoptive parents struggle with. And while they love their adopted children unconditionally, there is no bond quite like blood. She was thrilled at the thought of adopting a child, and even though she was more than happy as a foster mom, she felt she would want something more permanent. 2 weeks after Katie had spoken with her caseworker, she received a phone call that would change her life forever. The caller explained that a baby had been abandoned by his mother at a hospital in the area. While she felt guilty to be overjoyed over the fact that a child had been left to fend for his own by his mother, she was ready to take the life-changing plunge. The baby boy was just 4 days old, and it was heartbreaking to see a human life barely formed being tossed aside. Katie's mind was already made up, and she told the caseworker not to contact anyone else. "I want him." Just 1 day later, Katie walked out of the hospital with a baby boy of her own. It was her dream come true, and after all this time, she finally had a family of her own. Even though Katie was already fostering a 14-month-old baby, she did not have any prior experience taking care of a newborn. The small baby would need a lot of care and attention, and she would need to be extra careful. The baby boy had been exposed to illegal substances. While still in his mother's womb, he was not experiencing withdrawal symptoms. Despite the good news that he would likely not face long-term challenges as a result of his biological mother's harmful behavior while pregnant, Katie was still beyond heartbroken in knowing a mother could put her own child in harm's way like that. While Katie was prepared to do whatever it took to care for the baby, the 4-day-old infant would also need a name. In all her excitement, this little detail had slipped her mind. As you can see from the pictures of the baby, he was an incredibly handsome and wondrous-looking child. He would certainly need a special name, especially considering the adversity that he had overcome at his birth. When Katie brought the tiny infant home, she hardly had time to consider names for him. Eventually, she decided to give him her very favorite name for a boy, Grayson. With his light brown hair, this name, which means son of the gray-haired one, was the perfect name. Since 1985, this name has skyrocketed in popularity, and today there are countless Graysons going about their business in the United States of America. Katie immediately fell in love with the baby boy when she first saw him. We do not blame her for her rushed affection. The kid was magnificently gorgeous and well-tempered, being a bubbly little angel. The bond was instant, even though she could not fathom how or why. It seemed like there are natural bonds that go beyond logic or reasoning. Her unconditional love for Grayson was a real show of maternal instincts. It wasn't long before Katie finally understood that motherhood was what she was unknowingly in search of for so long. The arrival of Grayson proved undeniably fulfilling for Katie as she longed for a child of her own. Even though she adored all of the children that she fostered, none were with her permanently. She had been forced to wave goodbye to each one in turn. It warmed her heart knowing that she would never have to turn her back on Grayson. There was no question surrounding the fact that Grayson had an extraordinary place in Katie's heart. After all, he was with her since he was only 4 days old. Behind the scenes, the caseworkers were adamant about finding Grayson's biological parents. This was something that was always at the back of Katie's mind. While it would break her heart to have to part ways with the baby, she also did not want him being returned to such neglectful parents. It seemed as though the biological parents did not want to be found as the caseworkers searched to no avail. Despite printing ads in the newspapers and even on Facebook, no one stepped out with any information regarding the baby boy that was abandoned. Having left the baby to fend for himself, it was obvious to anyone that they did not want to be reunited with Grayson, or whatever his name was before he had been abandoned. In May 2017, Grayson became a permanent part of Katie's life. At just 11 months old, he was now legally Katie's son. She could not have been any happier that their family was finally official. As you can see from the picture below, this was a triumphant moment for the new mother and her darling son, being brought to joyful tears as she had finally and officially been delivered a child of her own. Despite the doctors confirming that Grayson would not suffer long-term effects of the drug exposure, given his negative experiences in vitro, Katie would still confront the challenge of delayed physical developments and milestones. The matter had affected him, and Katie was prepared to do her best for him. She knew that this was not going to be an easy ride for either of them, but she would do her best to help her son through any challenge. When Grayson was 18 months old, Katie considered taking in one more foster child, although she felt the time was not right just yet. She may have received numerous calls regarding placements, but they were only short-term, and Katie was hoping for a long-term arrangement. After having fostered 4 children already, she could not bear to go through the heartbreak of parting ways with an adored child for the 5th time. Katie was hoping to expand her family, but she was also undecided, as she felt Grayson deserved her full attention. Katie was focused on her baby boy, as she knew he needed her more than anything. Just look at how happy he is enjoying his very first birthday celebration. As you can see from the picture below, this was one spoiled and pampered baby, making the most out of his enormous chocolate cake. Katie had a big home with plenty of space, and while she wanted to take advantage of this, she was hoping to wait until Grayson was a bit older before adopting another child. For now, she and her son were perfectly happy with their comfortable and exciting arrangement. Things were not going to stay happy for long, however. Just 1 month after adopting Grayson officially, she received a call that would drastically change their lives forever. Katie was informed that another baby had been abandoned at a nearby hospital. The baby girl's name was Hannah, and she was desperately in need of a loving home. Even though Katie had initially decided she would wait before adopting another child, she knew Katie needed to do what she could to help the little girl. Katie was the kind of angel that would help any child if it meant a lifelong commitment. Hannah was also exposed to illegal substances while in her biological mother's womb, just like Grayson. What's more, Hannah was abandoned at the very same hospital. Katie felt she needed to assist as best she could, even though Katie thought she needed to remain focused on her son. He needed special and undivided attention, and Katie was on the verge of being stuck into another custody battle that would need a lot of her attention. During an interview, Katie said, "During all of the phone calls I made that afternoon, the phrase, 'I know I am crazy, but God is telling me to say yes,' kept coming out of my mouth." During the discussion as to whether or not Katie would be taking in the baby girl, she felt as though she was experiencing all the same when she took Grayson home for the first time. While Katie was feeling understandably overwhelmed and a bit nervous about the decision, she couldn't help but accept the baby as she did her son. Just a few hours later, baby Hannah was dropped off from the hospital to meet her new family for the very first time. How would the new baby take to her new family and vice versa? There we so many worrying factors to consider again. Soon after Katie welcomed baby Hannah into her home, she noticed something a bit strange. Hannah's hospital bracelet had her mother's name on it, which just so happened to be the same name that was on Grayson's hospital bracelet. She scanned over Hannah's discharge papers and discovered that the mother's birth date was also similar to that of Grayson's biological mother. This could not just be a coincidence, and Katie was going to find out. Hannah also had a very similar medical history as Grayson, as they had both been exposed to illegal substances. The caseworkers told me her story, which was really similar to Grayson's, Katie said. While Hannah and Grayson did not share any noticeable features, she was sure they may be related somehow. As you can see from the picture below, they do indeed look quite different, but clearly share a sibling-like affection for one another. Katie posted on her blog, "Grayson is half African American with beautiful darker skin and dark curly hair. Baby girl has a pale white skin tone with straight red blonde hair." Even though the two were notably different, Katie was almost sure that they may be related. Even when children do not share that much in the way of physical features, human genetics have no bounds. It was time to get to the bottom of this case. Searching for the truth would prove challenging, especially since Grayson's biological mother appeared to have a different surname, and the birth date was one day off in comparison to the information left by Hannah's birth mother. This was a murky case, where the key players were nowhere to be found. However, Katie was beyond determined to search for the truth and decided she would take matters into her own hands to find Hannah's biological mother. Katie was told that the changes were relatively unlikely when she approached her caseworker with her suspicions. Was it possible that Katie's discoveries were all merely a coincidence and nothing more? She did not let this new development deter her, however, and was still committed to finding out the truth about her precious little angel's backgrounds. She was turning out to be quite the skilled detective, and nothing could get in her way. Despite the odds being against her, Katie decided to contact her son's caseworker, who requested to take over Hannah's case. After many months of searching, they were finally able to locate Hannah's biological mother. How would this incredible reunion pan out, if it were even to take place at all? Would Hannah's biological mother even want to be contacted, let alone invited to a reunion? Katie was undeterred and pressed on. Understandably, Katie was feeling quite anxious about meeting Hannah's biological mother. She knew that she had been a drug addict at the expense of her children's physical and mental development. What kind of person engaged in such activity, knowing full well that their children could be so drastically affected? Either way, it was time for a meeting. The second Katie saw her, it became crystal clear that Hannah's birth mother was also Grayson's birth mother. Katie simply knew this was the mother of both her children. Katie had developed something of a maternal instinct in the short time that she had been with Grayson and Hannah, and she had become strongly connected to the two kids. That is also why she found herself shaking with rage when she saw this woman walk in through her front door. However, she knew she would need to stay calm rather than ambushing her with the questions she so desperately wanted answers to. During the meeting, Hannah's biological mother confirmed that she had given birth to a baby boy and gave him up without any records. This seems to have confirmed what Katie suspected right from the start. Too many people become irresponsibly pregnant without ever wishing to in the first place. They then begin abusing their children before they have even been born. Hannah and Grayson would never know how lucky they had been to find Katie. Katie asked as many questions as she could and discovered that this woman actually had even more children. What kind of irresponsible mother was this? One of which was a baby boy that had not been reported to authorities. This was the kind of person that lived outside of the reach of the law on the fringes of society. After discussing her findings with the caseworker, it was confirmed that the last name the biological mother gave matched that of someone that was related to Hannah. Finally, Katie had more pieces of the story, and she would be able to confirm her suspicions. After receiving the results of a DNA test, it was confirmed that Hannah and Grayson did, in fact, share the same birth mother as siblings. She'd wanted to get this test done a long time ago, but there were many other pressing concerns that she needed to find answers to and resolve before she could bring science into the quest. It was beyond amazing that Katie had actually landed up with siblings as fate would have it. Despite their biological mother's best or worst efforts, the two children had landed up together, safe and sound, in the loving and devoted care of a true mother that would never hurt or neglect them, let alone abandon them. The discovery may have been somewhat shocking, although Katie could not have been more thrilled. Katie knew that she may never have been able to find Grayson's birth mother had Hannah landed up in a different home. Katie was not the kind of mother that would allow her children to be raised with a list of unanswered vital questions. Every child deserves to know where they come from, as well as where they are going. As luck would have it, Katie felt discovering the truth was no less than a miracle. Katie felt adopting Hannah was the right thing to do after discovering that she was Grayson's biological sister. It felt right that they should remain together. The children needed each other, and Katie felt that they should have some familial bond growing up. Regardless, Katie was also already so in love with Hannah and felt unwilling to part with her. It was time to begin the adoption process and make Hannah an official part of the family. After a hearing in court on the 29th of December 2018, it was finally official that Katie, Grayson, and Hannah were legally a family. Hannah would grow up with a loving mother and her biological brother. She and Grayson had both been spared a terrible life with drug addicts and who knows what else, for parents. Katie could not be any happier at this point as the siblings were reunited against all the odds. Understandably, an occurrence such as this is sporadic. Hannah was in foster care for roughly 2 years before she was finally adopted. Who knows what the child had endured in that time? There was no doubt that she would fit perfectly with Katie and Grayson. It could be agreed that fate brought them all together. And while Katie was hoping to be able to give Grayson a happy life, she had never believed it would be possible to actually give him a biological sister, too. During an interview with People magazine, Katie said that they were meant to find each other. That's pretty clear. I think God intended that from the beginning. If they weren't related, Hannah would not have stayed with our family. She would have been placed with other relatives. Katie had absolutely no idea that she would become the mother of 2 beautiful children so soon after starting her journey as a single foster mom. While she knew in her heart that the path would be fulfilling, she had no idea just how amazing the entire experience would be. While Katie may have believed Hannah was the last child that she would adopt just 13 months later, she received another unexpected phone call from the adoption agency. Grayson and Hannah's biological mother had just given birth to yet another child. This meant that her children had another sibling that needed a loving home, and while Katie was quite taken aback by the news, she was also a bit unsure if she would be able to manage to adopt another child. Katie may have been somewhat reluctant, as she was not planning on adopting another child, although she was also unable to sit with the thought of leaving the baby alone while caring for his siblings. She felt it was only right to bring the baby boy home and begin the adoption process. It took no time at all for Katie to fall in love with him either. It was a match made in heaven. Katie named the little boy Jackson, and even though she knew she was a bit unprepared, she felt he would be the perfect addition to her happy family. In a matter of months, everyone was getting along well, and Katie was anticipating the process of legally becoming Jackson's mother. This was not her first rodeo in this department, and she was well prepared. Whatever hiccups or bureaucratic chores were in store for her, she was going to beat them. Katie posted on Instagram on the 9th of June 2019 that Jackson's adoption was in process and the court date had been set. While waiting in excitement, Katie was thrilled that she was the lucky mom that would be able to watch him learn and grow, as she felt undeniably privileged to have 3 beautiful children to raise and love. Double tap on this Instagram picture to fill in Jackson's heart. Once the adoption process started, Katie was sure to do her best at protecting the privacy of her children. This meant that she was not openly posting photos of Jackson without blurring out his face to avoid unwanted attention from the public that may put the adoption in jeopardy. Katie was determined to ensure that everything would go as smoothly as it should, as she had already received a lot of media attention after the shocking discovery that Grayson and Hannah were biological siblings. Katie knew it would be best to protect Jackson from any public awareness. While Katie awaited the adoption to be approved, family life at home went on as per usual. Hannah had since grown into a young girl that adored doll shoes and pretty clothes, while Grayson was about to turn 3 and would soon start preschool. Grayson has grown into a friendly little boy who loves social interactions. Katie's children were being raised well, and there was no doubt that she was showering them with an abundance of unconditional love. Recently, Katie posted on Instagram about a mystery man that had joined the family. The post read, "While I can't share his face as I vowed never to post him on social media so I could get him to take a photo with me, I can share how grateful I am for him." As it turns out, Katie had been seeing this mystery man for a whole year after meeting through the pastor at their church. He had been incredibly supportive during Katie's experiences as a foster mother. We couldn't be more thrilled that Katie has someone special in her life that loves and supports her. Even though Katie has been raising her 3 children alone, She has received so much help and support. Her mother, her sister, and her roommate have made themselves available as a stable support system for Katie and her 3 children. This makes the never-ending responsibilities much more comfortable, as a reliable support system is vital for any family. Katie is a full-time mother, and she also has a full-time job, and on top of that, she is still renovating her home. If that's not impressive enough, Katie recently took on the ultimate responsibility of starting her very own small business. Katie runs the website woodandgrace.net while also working as an independent consultant for Rodan & Fields, which is a skincare company. Rodan & Fields sell makeup and skincare products, and the flexibility they provide for their independent consultants allows Katie to work remotely and in her own time. This means that she can make ends meet without sacrificing time with her children. The extra income has been an extreme help for Katie and her 3 children. I am hopeful that one day this opportunity will give me a chance at the freedom to spend more time with my children, and one day expand our family even more. My current traditional career path doesn't make my dreams seem possible. So I began to consider ways to supplement that complemented my lifestyle and was flexible, Katie explained. Katie has been sharing her incredible story on various social media platforms, and she is also utilizing the opportunity to promote her business as well. There are plenty of mothers and potential parents out there who would greatly benefit from her story and tips. While posting updates on both Instagram and Facebook, she also posts about her journey on her website. Her blogs tell of her charming talents, such as renovations and interior design. Katie has expressed her incredible journey of adoption and feels the experience has truly changed her life for the best. Her life may not be perfect or eased, although there is no doubt that her 3 children have brought her an abundance of love and joy that she would not otherwise have ever felt. The last 35 years has been far from easy or the perfect life, but it has been mine and has always been driven by my crazy dreams. If people only knew how my children have changed mine far more than I could ever have imagined, Katie explained on her blog. The business decisions that Katie has made have helped provide her with enough extra income to raise her 3 children well. She is hoping to be able to hire a live-in nanny, only so that her children can benefit from the extra care. Juggling motherhood, 3 children, and an expanding business is a lot for anyone, and she could greatly use the extra help. Who would take on the caring challenge? While there is no doubt that Katie has her hands full with raising 3 children and advancing her success in business, she is also advocating foster care on her social media profiles. She posts to encourage others to take the leap that would change their lives and the lives of children in need. It takes patience beyond what I feel I sometimes have. It makes me and those who support me angry some days. But encounters, relationships with the children make it worth the hard times. It is my greatest adventure, and I can't imagine my life without this experience, Katie explained in an interview with Good Morning America. Fostering and adoption is a selfless choice that can bring nothing but love into the lives of those that may not otherwise be able to experience parenting.